Welcome back to Sports Tonight. From being born in Germany to attending Lee High School here in San Antonio to the University of Texas Arlington to the NFL, Bruce Collie has lived his life with sports as a powerful influence. That led him to play for the 49ers and Eagles from 1985 to 1991. Hector sat down with Collie as part of our Power of Sport San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame series.
Not many San Antonians can say they've won a couple of Super Bowls. Bruce Collie can. Bruce, thanks so much for the time and joining us for this Power of Sport interview.
You're welcome, Hector.
Let's start with the Power of Sport and the impact that sport has had on your life. We'll talk about the two titles and what you're able to do at UT Arlington and at Lee High School. But the Power of Sport and the impact that athletics has had in your life.
Well, you know, team sports are another family. If it hadn't been for Roy Sawyer and Martin Shaughnessy and those coaches, that surrogate family, I think I probably would end up in jail.
Really?
So sports was another family for me.
When you think of your days at Lee High School, there are one or two things that come to mind above the rest?
I think being the last year we won district, you know, the Roosevelt-Churchill rivalries were just at the peak. Lee was starting to be kind of more towards the city. We weren't out in the country anymore. Churchill, Madison, you know, the growth of the city and that young blood, young guys coming in. And I just think we really shined.
You went on to great success at UT Arlington. Then comes your stint with the 49ers. Wow. Can you talk about being on one of the best ever teams the league has ever seen? Well,
first of all, you have to realize they won the Super Bowl in January of 1985. And then 2-3 months later, I get drafted by him. And I get drafted with some guy named Jerry Rice. And, you know,
who's that?
End up, yeah, he did all right. And you end up, you know, at the end of 6-8 weeks of training camp, and there's only two guys who make the team. That's you and Jerry out of 6 draft picks in 12 rounds. And that was the beginning of it. That was the beginning of my hope and my realization that if I worked hard and never gave up, that I was going to stick around. And you know, I had 3 screws in my ankle, I had a screw in my shoulder, I had a broken wrist from college, and I still made that football team and still was able to start and contribute and be a part of that offensive line with Bob McKittrick and Bill Walsh and then George Seifert. And those relationships that we built on that team are still going today. You know, Dwight Clark, we just said goodbye to him last year. I still have relationships with all the guys that I played with when we can, you know, life gets in the way. But it's another family, just like I said about high school. It's a family, and that's what I think the importance of sports is.
When you look at one of the greatest runs the NFL has ever seen with those 80s Niners that you were on, the first thing that comes to mind is just sheer dominance and talent. But I was going to ask you about if there was something underneath that sport was really a big part of that kind of parlayed itself into your everyday life. It sounds like that sense of family was it for you.
Yeah, Bill Walsh, first of all, he didn't allow hazing. So when you got to training camp, it was business. You had to learn the offense. And then the guys, we had our own little hazing stuff, but it was never destructive hazing, but it was family hazing. It was like a brother hazing. And we liked each other. And you actually, I think that was part of how you made the football team, is you had to fit in to the family. And which made you realize you had to be a giver. You had to be the kind of guy that worked extra hard, the guy that showed up, the guy that encouraged your teammates. You know, tempers flew, but we didn't fight for very long. Bill wouldn't let you fight.
Here you are, years later, an inductee into the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, what an honor.
Is it possible to describe what that means?
I'm still pinching myself, you know, Malik and Doc and Coach, and I mean, I'm in the class of 19. I mean, I never thought I'd say that, you know. I think we need to realize that sports is a family, and it replaces so many things that kids need.
A great at Lee, a 2-time Super Bowl champion on one of the greatest teams of all time, and now a San Antonio Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations, Bruce Collie.
Thank you, Hector.
And thank you for joining us on the Power of Sport.
Appreciate it.
And indeed, a big thank you to Bruce Collie, who now lives in Wimberley near Austin with his wife Holly and their 13 children. He wraps up our San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame series. To learn more about the Power of Sport, visit San Antonio Sports.